Hello everyone and welcome to Nintendo Archive. So in this video we are going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch OLED or OLED, which just dropped this morning at like 8 Central Time. So we're going to be talking about that because this is obviously very confusing and this is not the first time that Nintendo has dropped a piece of hardware, software, whatever you want to call it, that is confusing. Just think of the Wii U, for instance. How confusing was the Wii U to people, and that is why its sales were horrible and they have to port games over to the Switch because it just wasn't explained properly. Now, for me, even, I watched this trailer. I was like, what is happening? I didn't know what it was. I thought, oh, well, we get the Switch Pro. I was like, kind of like freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then I get onto it and it's like, okay, it's a Switch with white Joy-Cons. Okay, well, this isn't exactly what I had been hearing through all the leaks. I had heard we were going to get new Joy-Cons. I had heard it was going to be significantly bigger. I was heard we were going to get a more powerful system. I was heard we were going to get like 4K, and it was just going to be like this whole new thing. It was going to kind of be like the Wii U in a sense, to where it was a more like upgraded version, but then like I was thinking they'd explain it better almost. It was like going to be like a whole step up from the Switch, making it like some big, like a huge update, like not even like a whole new console, like a whole new thing. Like this would be separate. It'd be like kind of like the GameCube and the Wii. Like you could play the same games on both of them, but this was just like this was gonna run way better. It was way faster. It was way stronger. Like everything. This is essentially the Platinum edition of the Switch, if you will. That's essentially what this is. It's a fancier version. It's nicer, it's sleeker, it's more futuristic. I think it has the curved edges. It's not like the console, the dock isn't like a big box. It's kind of curved and smoother, and they've worked out like some of the technical details of the Switch. Like now it has a wider kickstand, which I think is so cool. Don't get me wrong. I think this thing is so cool. I think that if you haven't bought a Switch before, or you have the original Switch, the OG Switch, and it's getting beat up, its things are scratchy, your Joy-Cons from that have basically just completely crapped out on you at this point, that this is probably the Switch that you're going to upgrade to. Because this means there is no Switch Pro, okay? It's not happening. We are not going to get a Switch Pro. If we do, that'd be super dumb. And if we do, it's not going to be anytime soon. It's going to be in like 2 years. Because they don't drop some awesome, like, here is our upgraded Switch. Here it is. Take it or leave it. We like fixed all the little things that you wanted us to besides the Joy-Cons, because for some reason they literally just like can't fit. They don't understand how or something. Like they just can't fix Joy-Con drift. We gave you the wider kickstand. We gave you some Ethernet thing that you can do. We sleeked the design. We gave you a bigger screen. We did these things. We gave you the OLED screen, which, to explain that a little bit, it's like it's better than the screen before, and it's like it's not 4K. They aren't the same thing, and it's kind of confusing. And you probably should just look it up because it's a confusing thing. But I guess like it has some kind of organic screen, to where no matter what angle you look at it from, it's like brighter and the color resolution is better, which I guess is good if you're playing in handheld mode. However, a lot of people have pointed out I don't really play in handheld mode except for like on my Switch Lite, which makes total sense, because would you rather play the Switch from like here, like 6 inches from your face, or would you rather play the Switch on a giant TV? And maybe you don't even have a giant TV. But either way, your TV screen is going to be bigger than your Switch screen. It's just going to be, because that's just how it works. So it's cooler. As I said, Platinum Edition. That's what it is, basically. It is not a Switch Pro. Do not let people tell you it is a Switch Pro, because when they said Switch Pro, they said 4K, they said new Joy-Cons, they basically said we're essentially getting a new system that is going to be way better. Now, could it come out? Could we find out, oh, it's more powerful, it's more this? That would bring it closer to a Switch Pro, but unless they completely rehaul the design between now and October, it's not going to be a Switch Pro, because this is not what we were promised with the Switch Pro or what people were leaking. We weren't even promised anything by Nintendo. This is what people were leaking, was the Switch Pro. And it's like, okay, so it sounds like what was being leaked was a mixture of the OLED and a mixture of a brand new console that's in the works, because Nintendo probably always has brand new consoles in the works because they have to stay ahead of the game. Now, this means that we're not going to get a Switch Pro. You don't release 3 different types of one thing and then come out with another upgraded thing. Or you're going to end up with a Wii U thing where it's like, here's the Wii, we have our 3DS systems, and now here is a Switch Pro and Wii U. And it's like, everybody's like, oh, it's an upgraded version of the Wii. Well, it wasn't really. It was like a whole new system, but it was just like, no, they're not going to make that same mistake again. We are not going to get a Switch Pro. We are going to get a whole new next-gen system. And it's probably not going to be for like a whole nother year or maybe 2 years, because they just released this. This is $50 more. The Switch is still selling great. This is probably going to sell pretty well too for all the people who haven't bought a new Switch since like 2017. This is your upgraded model. If you want a upgraded Switch, this is the console you should get. This is my opinion. If you want a new Switch, do not wait for the Switch Pro. It probably won't happen. This is the closest thing to a Switch Pro you are going to get, and even it isn't even one. It's not. So get this. It's super cool. It's super sleek. You won't regret getting this, I don't think, unless they really mess something up. Double the memory. That's great. You won't have to continually archive games, which is awesome. Now, the screen size, it's a 7. The Switch is a 6.2. So it's not really even a full inch bigger, which is like, come on. Like, you really couldn't have made it a full inch bigger. But it is what it is. It's cool. I'm glad they did something. It's not a Switch Pro at all. I've seen people and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been leaking this for weeks and months and blah, 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 blah. It's a Switch Pro. Okay? No, it's not. If you leaked it as a Switch Pro, this isn't what you were leaking. It's close to what you were leaking or reporting rumors on, but it's not that. Like, sorry, not sorry. This isn't it. Like, you have to like be fair with these people. Literally, like, their jobs is to report on rumors, and they're not always going to be right because they're not the one getting the information. So I'm not hating on these guys. I'm just saying this isn't a Switch Pro. But if you like content like this and you want me to maybe do a more in-depth dive on the OLED or whatever and all the features that it has, and maybe you want me to do a bunch of research on the screen and tell you guys all about it, please leave that below in the comments. And if you liked this, please subscribe and, of course, hit that like button.